Okay, hi. Good morning, everyone. I had a little trouble getting to this link. You know, we had to change it, and this is now the science of triangles. And I just want to know, did anybody have difficulty getting using the weekly schedule and pressing the link for the science of triangles? Or were you able to get right in? I'll tell you what, show yourself on your video if you had any difficulty getting to this link, because I just want to trace the issue. And Martine got right in. Yeah, you can put it in the chat box if you had any difficulty using the weekly schedule, because for some reason it just wasn't working for me, but I had the link anyway from another source. So if we're good on that, then everything's fine, and just the issue is my own. Well, you know, now we are continuing with our work on the science of triangles, and of course, this is requiring no problem. Very good, Vicky. Okay, excellent. And 6 p.m. I shouldn't say 6 p.m. Yeah, all right. It 6 a.m. I'm glad that, you know, the mind is working here. Okay. All right. We seem to be in good shape. And I'll do a little research regarding what was the difficulty with me. You know, it's one thing to have a program, but it's another thing for all of us to get there. Okay, now, I guess what I want to say, one of the things I want to say, is that we're into a degree of complexity when we deal with these matters in esoteric astrology. It's not only the science of triangles. We have to know some astrology. And I noticed here on page 271, let's see if I can go to that so you can see it well, reasonably well. A statement is made that gives us the idea of the kind of information we have to synthesize, or let's say bring together, in order for work really to proceed and for the goal really to be attained. And the statement here is this: it has been remarked by a profound astrological expert who, notice the capital, works with the masters of the Great White Lodge, that, and now comes the quotation, but let me first underline this a bit, that when humanity comprehends the distinction between signs and constellations, somewhere in the early 600s, that distinction is given. He talks about the difference between signs and galaxies of stars. And by galaxies, he doesn't mean, you know, island universes at that point. So that when humanity understands the distinction between the signs and constellations, understands the nature of the polarity of energies, and this, in a way, is a study of cosmic electricity and of Fohat, and responds to the three cosmic realities. And I suppose in this case, well, there's many ways to assign this, but we can look at it as the Great Bear, Little Bear, which is the higher correspondence of Sirius and the Pleiades. The 12 cosmic energies, which are constellational energies of the zodiac, the 12 signs of the zodiac, and the 7 planetary impacts, which are the 7 major sacred planets. And how much can be said in just a few words? The interplay of the 12 creative hierarchies, 7 of which are on the cosmic physical plane, and 5 of which are on the cosmic astral plane or just moving there. Then, and not till then, will a radiant light be seen. And, note this, the destiny of our solar logos be finally determined. With our solar logos, we do not know yet whether that great logos will, make sure your microphone is off. We do not know yet whether that great logos will take the 4th initiation or the 5th. In this particular solar system. And maybe, it has something to do with the progress of humanity in learning and applying these very abstruse matters. So DK occasionally quotes an unnamed source or various sources to whom he has access. Sometimes it's the Master Serapis, sometimes the source is simply anonymous. But I guess what I'm saying here is that we can understand how much information has to be brought together, and for us it will take a number of lives. I mean, DK is a master, and he has brought so much of this together in his consciousness. We're not there yet, not by a long shot, but step by step, grade by grade, we can do that. Now, just want to say, pausing here, just welcome to you all, Martha and Anna and Catherine and Fred and Frida, and Joe, Karen, Carrie, and Mariana and Martine, Miro, Natni, and Risto, and Vicky, and Zenaidi, and Ann Veronica. Welcome. Glad, at this early hour, certainly early in the United States, where we don't have a lot of representation right now, that you could make it and could adapt to the change that we had to make. Now, going on, let's see here. I've transferred some things into the text that Starling David Hunter has provided. He says, Aries, Gemini, Scorpio. That's the triangle we're at first looking at. And this is fairly complex stuff and requires pondering. I pondered. I'm not there yet. I'm getting there. And simply because we list a triangle does not mean that it can be easily understood. DK tells us here, as I earlier pointed out to you, the sign Virgo is related to 9 constellations. And I suppose he's counting backwards towards Capricorn, the sign of birth, of the birth of the Christ child and the birth of that's traditionally, and the birth of the Christ consciousness through initiation. And he says that in this fact lies both prophecy and guarantee. That which this sign veils, and it's a very old sign, and it was in power in the second half of the previous solar system, the previous major solar system. Cancer ruled the first part, Virgo ruled the second part. In a way, it's the system of the mother, and both of those signs, Cancer and Virgo, have a very prominent moon rulership, allying it with the mother. Okay, so that which this sign Virgo, we start there, veils and hides, is potentially responsive to 9 streams of energy. It's a very big constellation. It's over 40 degrees, and it's absolutely fundamental to everything that's going on materially in our solar system right now. In earlier times, the rays coming through Virgo may have been more the 3rd and 7th, but now times have changed, and there's a new emphasis upon the 2nd and the 6th ray coming through Virgo. So there's a duality there in that sign. And when you think about the mantra, I am the mother and the child, okay. So that's last solar system, and then this solar system, I, God, I, matter, am. And that's the next solar system. So all 3 of the major aspects are potentially found within the sign Virgo or veiled by the sign Virgo. So 9 streams of energy, which playing upon the life within the form and evoking from the soul, invoking response from the soul, produce those points of crises or points of crisis, those moments of demonstrated development, because that's what a crisis is for. Let's see if I can do something here that will allow me to write something down if I need to. So, yeah, crisis, the purpose of crisis is to demonstrate development. Okay, and I want to There's such a little bit of complexity here that I need to keep the colors distinct, otherwise you won't know what is commentary and what is belonging to what Master DK said. So the purpose of crisis is to demonstrate development. Now, another one of those crisis triangles, and as long as he mentions it, we may as well mention it here as also. So this triangle that was apparently mentioned in relation to moments of demonstrated development was Leo, Libra, and Capricorn. Now take note of that, because this particular triangle spans, in a way, the entire development of man as man. Then maybe it begins all over again, you know, in a different way. And I'll show you what I mean. So this triangle spans the entire development of man. How so? How so? And take a note. Leo is not only the sign of the first initiation, one of the characteristic signs, but it goes much farther back to the moment of individualization. Leo, with its ray 5, facilitates the entry of animal man, into the fourth kingdom of nature. Let's see if that'll do it. Yeah, into the fourth kingdom of nature, the human. So it's called the most human of all the signs, and it brings us from animal to the possibility of the self-consciously thinking man. Of course, it takes a long time to develop. 3 million years from the moment of Sagittarian awakening. So Leo is instrumental in endowing us with mind, which any human being needs to be a human being. And then long time passes, and Libra comes into a specific moment. See, all of these signs appear and reappear, but the real crisis moment, and it was a big crisis when at least on this planet, animal man became man. Lots of forms were destroyed by fire. And Leo, we remember, in relation to the fixed cross, is the sign of fiery pain. So they just, you know, the forms of the time were in crisis because they couldn't take the implantation of this spark of mind from the solar angels into their brain and their energy apparatus. It killed them, but not all, obviously. Then Libra comes. I mean, it appeared many times, of course, but the crisis moment um, is called the reversal of the wheel. And it's that moment when man is becoming aware of a higher of the pairs of opposites, God within the human being and the energy of the energy system, instead of just rushing downward, begins to return to the higher chakras. And that's what, in energy terms, the reversal of the wheel means. So, you know, Uranus is very powerful at that moment, and brings the individual under, interestingly enough, under the two signs Leo Libra or Libra Leo, into a new orientation. The reversal signals a new orientation. And then time passes, and Capricorn comes into its crisis mode. Now, Capricorn is always appearing, you know, many other lives. They can be on any of the signs, but there are certain lives where certain signs become focal participants in moments of demonstrated development. And with Capricorn, it's not just ambition. There's a lot of that comes first. And later comes something else, which is the birth of a new kind of consciousness, the birth of the consciousness of the fifth kingdom of nature, at least initially. And we're told that Capricorn is powerful in all of the 5 initiations, I suppose straight up from number 1 through number 5, though most characteristically associated with the 3rd initiation. And of course, it's a great crisis. And look at humanity right now on a larger scale, passing through tremendous crisis of a higher example of the battle between the angel of the presence and the dweller on the threshold. And all of this precedes the establishment of Capricorn at the 1st initiation. So in every case, we go through crisis when Capricorn is involved. We cross the water in the 2nd initiation because Capricorn is known as the one who crosses the water. And we enter from probationary status, probationary initiate, into full initiate, at least in the beginning stages, with Capricorn at the 5th initiation. And there's a big battle between Mars and the moon, veiling Vulcan, the moon veiling Vulcan. And, you know, there's always going to be a battle. And we're told about India and its 4th ray personality, which is ruled by Capricorn, that it's been a battleground down the ages. So we cannot expect that when we take initiation, it will be devoid of crisis. And now you can see, can't you, how Leo, from the very beginning of individualization, we don't know, on the moon chain and in the previous solar system, the signs that were necessarily involved in that type of individualization. But here in Lemurian times, Leo is very prominent, along with Cancer, and, we can look at different signs that helped. Then a long, long time passes, long time, millions of years. And then man is ready to turn his energies the other way in the crisis of Libra. And then once all of that reversal is really anchored, he moves through aspiration, through discipleship of a kind, probationary discipleship, and into the initiatory regime of Capricorn, filled with crisis. Now, from another point of view, Leo can rule the fifth initiation, which is just the beginning of the Syrian association. Leo also rules the fifth initiation, which is the beginning of initiation in relation to Sirius. And then, interestingly, right after that comes Libra. Another crisis of a very high kind for the great decision. At least at the present moment, the possibilities of which path on the way of higher evolution one should take might appear as a vision at the fifth initiation, but you've got to make your decision as a Chohan, such as Master M is and Master KH and some of those others, and that's done under Libra. Now, I guess we can ask, does Capricorn go any farther than that? I don't know, but I do know, at least it fits together, that Saturn, the ruler of Capricorn, is the ruler of the entire cosmic physical plane and is found on the logoic plane, where the seventh initiation is taken, and Capricorn is the major distributor of the seventh ray. So you begin to see how this triangle is operative in the strictly human stage, leading to membership of the Kingdom of Souls, and then from the Kingdom of Souls into higher kingdoms yet, the kingdoms of the Chohans. So you never know where these great constellations and their energies can be applied. Now, obviously, because we stand where we stand, Leo, Libra, and Capricorn are going to be applied in relation to the human experience and the striving of humanity to enter a true humanhood in the fifth kingdom of nature. Okay, so that's a little bit about that triangle that we just ran into in reading. The other triangle we're looking at is the Aries, Taurus, Gemini, Scorpio. And I think you see what can relate these three. And is it not the Mercury rulership? Mercury, the esoteric ruler of Aries. Mercury, the orthodox ruler of Gemini, correct? Now you got to know these rulerships, right? You have to know them, at least to be able to play the game, which reveals their interrelations. And Mercury, the hierarchical ruler of Scorpio. Is there one more sign that Mercury rules? Yes. It rules Virgo in the Orthodox sense, and that's what this next, I must say, rather abstruse paragraph indicates. So let's look at it and realize that indeed we will have to ponder it over time. Now you just kind of wonder at the mind of Master DK, this where he learned all this, and the intense study it must have taken to make all of these Mercurian connections between the different energy sources. Let's just say that if Master DK is in a way a kind of representative of the planet Mercury, Master KH is more a representative of the planet Venus. KH and the Christ associated with Venus, Master DK and the Buddha associated with Mercury. That's the way I, try to remember this. Yeah. Okay. Going on. Through Mercury, Virgo, that great foundational constellation, comes into close relation to three constellations: Aries, Gemini, and Scorpio. And here again is the triangle of energies of great importance in the life of the Christ child, which Virgo guards and nourishes and hides within herself. So out of the material aspect of Virgo will eventually arise the manifestation of the Christ child. And even now, at this time in history, Virgo brings in more of the second ray and the Christ impulse than the other two signs, effectively, at this time. The other two signs on the second ray, namely Gemini and Pisces. So Virgo is filled with second ray promise, and Virgo tells the story of our emergence out of material preoccupation into preoccupation with the soul. And then a peculiar and difficult statement: through Aries and Scorpio, both of which are ruled by Mars, yes, but both of which are also ruled by Mercury, the Christ life and manifestation is integrated with that of the fourth creative hierarchy. Yes, it is a mysterious statement. Herein lies a great mystery, which is concerned with the dual manifestation of the Christ principle, both in form and upon its own plane through spiritual manifestation. Now that, this is really to be pondered, and I am one of those who has to ponder for sure. But let's just see, we'll note it and try to get a few little hints about it. Aries, of course, is representing God the Father. And Scorpio, the great battle between God the Son and God the Form. So spirit and matter pertain to Aries, and soul and personality and their conflict pertain to Scorpio. Without that conflict, there is no entry into the hierarchy. And of course, the fourth creative hierarchy on the cosmic physical plane is our own hierarchy of human beings. They call it the hierarchy of initiates, and it's ruled by Scorpio in the sense of monadic expression. Our monads are expressing themselves on the Buddhic plane under Scorpio. Now he wades into it even further. Anyway, the idea to have in mind is through Aries and Scorpio, the Christ life and manifestation is integrated into the fourth creative hierarchy. And just to show the picture, which I think I should do, just so we always have some kind of visual to back us up. Take me just a second here. Under the best circumstances. And here is the Alice Bailey diagrams, and we go to the creative hierarchies. And we open that. And then you will see it right here. Here is our fourth creative hierarchy. It's called the human hierarchy. It's called the initiates. It's called the lords of sacrifice. And as you see, it is ruled by Scorpio and its hierarchical planet, Mercury. It's called its energy is the word made flesh, or speech, which is called the power of mantra, mantraka shakti. And on this level, the solar angels are found, the Agnishvatas, because they have fallen down into the cosmic ethers out of sacrifice, but they do project themselves onto the higher mental plane in an act of still further sacrifice. So, that chart is very useful, and we want to always be able to refer to it. So regarding this triangle, and I'm going to make it a bit bigger here so that it stands out what we are studying. It is here also, says the Tibetan, that the true significance of the words found in the Bhagavad Gita appears when Krishna, the Christ principle, operating within Arjuna, the aspirant, says to Arjuna, okay, he's calling him the world disciple or developed form aspect. Note the symbolism. We are all of us Arjuna, and especially once we develop our form aspect, having pervaded the entire universe with a fragment of myself, I remain. Now that's exactly what happens. Aries comes forth from a high place. I come forth from the plane of mind. I come forth from the plane of mind and inserts itself with great initiative into the life of the higher mental plane. So, having pervaded the entire universe with a fragment of myself, I remain. Now, I'm just going to distinguish that a little bit from the foregoing. Okay. And there is then here an esoteric reference to the essential identity of the Son with the Father. I and my Father are one, said the Christ. I and my Father are one. Now, this people have interpreted that meaning that somehow Christ is the God of the universe. But it has to do with the union of two aspects of divinity. The Christ principle, the second aspect, and the Father principle, or first aspect. So you can see this is a very abstruse little paragraph here. Anyway, from the Father aspect to the Son aspect, there is a connecting bridge. The Father has, in a way, projected the Son. The solar angel has projected the angel of the presence to help the monad of man achieve the goal at this point in history. So there is here an esoteric reference to the essential identity of Son with the Father being the undying one, and with the eternal Mother that is spirit and matter. Aries somehow, very interestingly, carries the note of both spirit and matter. Think of it. Through Aries, the first ray of the Father, I'm sorry, the first ray of the Father comes, and the seventh ray, which is associated with matter form. So spirit and matter are both united in Aries. The result is between them a soul, which fights with personality under Scorpio. And this is the fundamental energy of Virgo and will be revealed. And here again, hold on to your hats here. When the energies pouring into Virgo from Gemini, the head of the cosmic Christ, via the planet Mercury, have done their destined work. And now we take Gemini up to a very high place on the cosmic astral plane. We do that. For Gemini is an expression of the fourth unmanifested creative hierarchy, one of the higher groups of lives, capital L, which stand just beyond the seven, who condition our systemic lives. So they're on the cosmic astral plane, and they underlie the lives which are working out their fate on the cosmic physical plane. And then let me go to this. Well, I'm not going to succeed here. Maybe I can now. Yeah, Here it is. So I will show it to you. And note the principle of numerical resonance. Because what we've got here is a way of connecting two fours. Here is Gemini, the fourth of the creative hierarchies on the cosmic astral plane, and counting from below, the ninth. Well, when you come to humanity, the human monads, let's see if I can get this. When you come to the human monads, you have exactly the same numbers. You have 9 and 4. So we human beings are Scorpio, and we are 9 down and 4 up, and we're connected with Gemini on the cosmic astral plane, that great hierarchy, which is 4 down and 9 up. So maybe we will learn that we can trace many connections using numbers, similar numbers. There will always be a relationship when similar numbers are involved. For instance, the fourth creative hierarchy and the humanity, the fourth kingdom of nature, and if we look a little higher, all connected with the fourth globe and the fourth chain in this fourth scheme, in a solar system of the fourth order. So use numerical affinity to trace connections. And if you trace the connections, you will prepare yourself for the ability to perceive with the faculty of pure reason from the fourth plane, the Buddhic. You see how it works. Okay, maybe a little more here. So this is the fundamental mystery of Virgo. Gemini is an expression of the fourth creative hierarchy. It's connected with our own hierarchy. And these lives, interestingly enough, another triangle is being shown. These lives, these of the cosmic astral plane, and even the Tibetan says, look, I haven't been there, but I know they are there because of his intuition and his studies. These lives have achieved their goal, and they have freedom from off the cosmic physical plane. But their energies are still directed and focused upon our planet. And but they are not manifesting in the same way as the 7 creative hierarchies. Now, the final sentence here, they are not unmanifested in the case where such developed planets as Uranus, Jupiter, or Saturn are concerned. There's a big hint there that on these 3 planets about which he doesn't say too much, especially about Uranus, when it comes time to draw the pictures, he just leaves it as a conventional picture and doesn't fill in any geometry. Although these planets represent higher chakras in the solar system, especially Uranus and Jupiter, they are not fully developed yet, the way Venus is. Just as in a human being, our lower triangles develop first, and then our later triangles up here develop later. Now, these planets, all of them, except that Saturn, greater Saturn, does include, in a way, many lower planets. These planets have not reached their full unfoldment yet because they represent higher aspects within the solar system. Planets like Earth, planets like Mars, to a certain extent Pluto, Mercury maybe, they have unfolded more rapidly. So he's calling these three developed planets, even though the development in terms of full manifestation may come later. I guess, the principle is what's important. The principle is the higher triangles in a human being or on a planet or in a solar system develop later than the lower triangles and the planets that are involved in giving us the lower triangles. Now, there's a little more, and maybe, obviously what I'm saying is just filled with all kinds of hints, not all of which we can follow up. It's just too much. But anyway, in this triple relation of three major constellations, one clear characteristic can be noted, and that is their essential duality. Now, can you spot the essential duality of these three in this triangle? It's I can think of a very high meaning for the triangle, and then I'll get into the essential duality. Gemini, from the cosmic astral plane; Aries, the assertion of the monad into the higher mental plane; and Scorpio, the battle of that which is created on the higher mental plane with our normal personality expression. Okay, so they can, in terms of their height, you might say, they can be looked at that way. Although Aries also, I hesitate to say it, does rule a great creative hierarchy on the cosmic astral plane. Both Aries and Gemini do. Anyway, why are they dual? Okay, well, Aries is spirit and matter. Gemini is the great sign of two-ness or duality. And as you know, when you have zodiacal opposites, in almost all cases, Gemini forms a triangle with them, doesn't it? Okay, so let me put this down. Aries represents spirit and matter. Gemini represents duality in general and unites zodiacal opposites. Like what? Let's say Aries, Libra, Gemini, with Gemini being the uniting factor. Taurus, Scorpio, Gemini. Gemini uniting the polar opposites of Taurus and Scorpio. And only when Gemini itself is involved, Pisces takes the place of Gemini. So Gemini, Sagittarius with Pisces uniting. Cancer and its opposite, Capricorn, Gemini. Gemini unites the two. Leo, Aquarius, Gemini, uniting the two. Virgo, Pisces, Gemini. Gemini uniting those two opposites. Okay. And now one more. We've had Aries, we've had Gemini, and now Scorpio. Represents the duality of soul and personality in combat. And this is the classic fight with the dweller on the threshold. So every one of them, as you see, represents duality. So in this triple relation of three major constellations, albeit, not easy to understand, I'll certainly admit that. Some of the triangles are easier to understand than others. One clear characteristic should be noted, that is their essential duality, the effect of which is obvious and so dramatically present in Virgo. Well, let's just say particularly mother and son. Thus far, at least in this solar system, Virgo, mother and son. Eventually, God the Father will get into it. So Virgo represents those two aspects particularly. And then what else about these three, this triangle? Aries sees the beginning or initiation of the relationship between spirit and matter. Okay, we mentioned that. It has rays 1 and 7 particularly. Gemini is definitely a sign of duality and signifies the relation of these two major energies in the fourth creative hierarchy. So, when we're aware that there's something within us that is a higher of the pairs of opposites, and we're having a conversation lower to higher, higher to lower, back and forth, it's a Gemini phenomenon, and we've already talked about Gemini and Scorpio hierarchies. So Gemini is definitely a sign of duality and signifies the relation of these two energies in the fourth or creative hierarchy. And this dualism, it gets complicated, is emphasized in a still more intimate and comprehensible manner because of the battle in Scorpio, in which the note of the evolutionary cycle which it dominates is the Word made flesh. And we're trying to bring that word of the soul, of the higher intuition, into the manifestation of flesh. So here is DK's explanation of the relation of Aries, Gemini, and Scorpio. remember, all of them connected with the rulership by Mercury. It is the sign wherein the Christ demonstrates his control over matter in the guise of the triumphant disciple. So again, conflict with duality, the fighter, the angel of the presence or the Christ, and matter or the personality. So always there is this back and forth experience going on with Gemini, and more intimately with Scorpio, and more remotely with Aries. Spirit and matter, Aries. Soul and body, Gemini. The mother and the child, Virgo. And the word made flesh through the power of speech, Scorpio. Here are 4 signs of creative dualism and interrelated evolution, presented and descriptive of the potency and principle, potency and objectives of the 4th creative hierarchy. It's a quaternary this time, or shall we say Virgo hovering above or below a triangle. Yeah, I don't think it gets more complex than this, so you don't have to worry. When Mercury, the divine messenger, the principle of illusion, also in its lower expression, and the expression of the active higher mind, has performed his mission and led humanity into the light, which it will do to a great extent in the Aquarian age, because Mercury rules the 2nd decanate of Aquarius, and the Christ child out of the womb of time and of flesh into the light of day and of manifestation. Mercury leads out the Christ child. Then the task of that great center we call humanity, so identified with Mercury, will be accomplished. I mean, great and future possibilities are here given. No question about it. Ponder on this gladly. For the significance of esoteric astrology will emerge more clearly in your minds if you can understand this 4-fold activity of Mercury, should we say, related to 4 zodiacal signs, and the interrelation of these 4 signs of the zodiac, connected as they are with the logoic quaternary, which is the personality of the solar logos. Well, no wonder DK said that Esoteric Astrology was his most occult book, his most esoteric book, because in it he gave us a language which is strictly that of energy. And it will take us a while to comprehend what he's trying to say here, but we do at least see the interrelation, don't we, of these signs of dualism. Virgo, at the moment, mother and son. Aries, spirit and matter. Gemini, soul and personality in a communicative sense. And Scorpio, the battle between soul and personality, the battle between the Buddhic plane and everything that lies below the Buddhic plane as part of man. All I can say is, whoo, that's a lot. But believe me, it will get easier to comprehend interrelationships between energies. That's the fantastic thing that Master DK has given. Methods of understanding the interrelationship between energies, leading on to the first stage of pure reason of the higher mind, or should we call it the abstract mind, and the second stage of pure reason on the Buddhic plane and involving the intuition. So when you practice making connections, the light shines forth. And at a certain point, the intuition or straight knowledge will appear. And you won't have to necessarily reason your way from point to point the way the logical mind would do. It's okay. It's a beginning, and we have to use it. But if we continue with it, the light flashes forth, and eventually we and all human beings will achieve our goal within the planet and within the logoic quaternary of the solar logos. Well, obviously, that's all we're going to do now. And we're just going, kind of triangle by triangle in what Starling has so helpfully provided us with. And I'm not exactly sure. I wish I had it in front of me, but I'm guessing that before long we're going to go on to this next 7th ray triangle. So far we have the end of this program, which basically is, we've done page 271, and our date is 24 February. And we have, let's see, what do we have here? The end of this program and beginning of program 96. But when will it be? That's the question. Will it be next Wednesday, the 3rd of March? And I'm just going to put a question mark. 3rd of March, 21. Maybe. But we will move on triangle by triangle. And what's important is that you get the sense of how to combine the zodiacal signs which make a triangle, and of course the rays which make a triangle, and the combination of super constellations, zodiacal constellations, and planets which make another kind of triangle. You have to learn how to triangularize and see what is important and when it's important. What is available to you and when is it available to you? We live in a sea of energies. And the question is, what can we access? What can we use in our forward progress and in our service? These are the fundamental questions. Okay. When I looked at this section, I said, "Well, this is a tough one because it brings in everything, the creative hierarchies and the zodiacal signs and the association of the zodiacal signs because of shared planets, so brings in the whole question of duality and the different kinds of dualities." And we began with a reading from that astrological expert that the Tibetan knows, and he says, do this, and this, and then all will be rightly accomplished. Isn't that where it is? This profound astrological expert somewhere. Well, it's none of us. I guess I won't go hunting for it right now. So basically, we've actually looked at two triangles today. Spent a bit of time, really, on Leo, Libra, and Capricorn, signs of crisis, and then on Aries, Gemini, and Scorpio, in their relation to Virgo and in their relation to Mercury. We've done that. Okay. Now, is there anybody that would like to offer a thought or has a question? And if not on the immediate material that we've been discussing right now, then it can be in relation to anything in occultism about which you have been thinking. So here is Vera, and wait a second, Vera. Just want to see where we are here. Yeah, and you can just go ahead and speak.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, sea of energy. And so the zodiacal signs are the concentrated influences. And are they like a giant thought forms around the earth? That's one part of the question. And second is, somewhere in the blue books is that there are around 70 planetary bodies in the solar system. So most of them are not in the dense physical matter.
Yeah,
do we know about that?
Well, we will know more about it, and it's more than 115 actually, and that's not even counting the asteroids. There are planets coming into incarnation in etheric form, there or even astral form. There are planets going out of incarnation, so there's a constant flux happening, and therefore our knowledge of the solar system is proceeding slowly. But you do know that planet after planet is being discovered, out there around Pluto, Charon and Aries and Sedna and other planets far out in the system are now being actually located. So what's probably important for us right now is the seven spirits before the throne of the solar logos their relation to the seven rays, and therefore their relation to our own individual, group, and human psychology. There are many, many more planets with their own increasing or decreasing pushes and pulls. And into all that complexity, we probably cannot enter. We can just say, well, you know, it's happening, and we're going to discover where all of these energy impacts are coming from, whether from a disappearing planet or an appearing planet, and then all these asteroids. And yes, indeed, you know, that little section on galaxies of stars, you are remembering it, and I'm going to just find it here. And that'll be Esoteric Psychology. Galaxies. And he doesn't really mean, he really means asterisms. He doesn't mean full galaxies. He means something else. He means aggregations, is what he means. And here is the statement with which we are all familiar, even if we don't fully understand what it's all about. In the understanding of the significance of the distinction between the constellations as galaxies of stars and signs as the concentrated influences, yes, Davic and thought form influences, attuned to the constellations, I'm adding that parenthetically, will come fresh light upon the signs of astrology. So those sections of the orange, as it were, this is how Alan Leo tried to describe it in his book Esoteric Astrology in 1917. Okay. They are powerful thought form influences, but created by high beings. And they are filled with Davic essence attuned to the constellation, which is the source of the original energy. And that's why tropical astrology really works. Now, there's some point at which sidereal astrology, I think, you know, may take over, and I have a feeling maybe around the sixth initiation or beyond, and in a planetary sense. But up till that point, tropical astrology, based upon counting from the first point of the vernal equinox in equal sections, 12 equal sections of Davic lives attuned to the constellations, is the esoteric way of looking at them, at the constellations. And sidereal astrology is more exoteric, as I understand it. Now, that should be found on page 63 or 61 of Esoteric Astrology. And let's just see if I can find it. And maybe I have to go down here a little. Yeah, here it is. Here it is. And I'll show it to you if you're not seeing it yet. Yeah, you are seeing it. Okay, good. So this is a very important discriminator that tells us that those signs or those concentrated influences by which we normally determine our horoscope our astrological chart are really esoteric. So here's what he says. The month and the sign, or the place of the sun in the heavens, do not really coincide. In other words, it might be Aries time, but the background of stars says Pisces. Or now it might be Aries in our usual year, but the background of stars is beginning to reveal Aquarius. And so it goes. When we state, for instance, that the sun is in Aries, it conveys an esoteric truth, but not an exoteric fact. Now, that is the great discriminator of tropical and sidereal astrology for, let's just say, people like ourselves, average human beings, up to a certain point. The sun was in Aries at the beginning of this great cycle, probably of some 25,000 years, but is not in exactly the same position today when it is found in that sign. And then when the age of Aquarius is over, springtime will come up here in the north. It'll be fall, but in the southern hemisphere, but that's okay because we're looking at the total zodiacal effect around the earth. And the sun, if you could look through it for all of its radiance, will have a background of stars in Capricorn. It will, the moment of spring will be actually exoterically against a background of stars in Capricorn, and on it will move backwards, 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 backwards until, again, after 25,000 years, or almost really 26,000 years from the beginning, it will come back so that when it's the first day of spring, it's also a background of stars in the constellation of Aries. That's a really important discriminator regarding the kind of astrology that Master DK uses. So yes, thought form effect, yes. Devas, yes. Devas attuned to the constellations, yes. Devas who have an esoteric effect upon the development of the human being, and not just an exoteric effect. Some sidereals say, oh, you're not being real. Look at the stars, they tell the story. But no, that which surrounds the Earth or any other planet tells the story of how the constellational energies are received and adapted and transmitted to the lives on our planet. So I hope that's, fairly clear.
Yes, thank you. Thank you.
Okay, Vera. Okay. Are there any other questions or thoughts that you would like to bring forward? I know that this is kind of a demanding study group. But what appears extremely demanding in the beginning just gets more and more habituated and easier to deal with familiarity and practice. So you just have to have the faith to persist. And then one day, you'll be able to understand, like someone like Master DK can understand, because he's worked with it for centuries, obviously. Centuries. He's known many of these things, or studied them, or applied them. So it's almost inevitable in this kind of program that we will have to mix astrology with the science of triangles. We have to do it. Because the sources themselves are heavenly, they are astrological, they have to do with great suns, groups of suns, constellations, planets, and invisible rays, all of which is the province of esoteric astrorayology. We cannot avoid it when we study the science of triangles. Okay, anything else from anyone that you might like to question or offer a thought? I'm happy that almost all of you have persisted. I know it's been tough going this morning. I consider it tough going because so many things had to be taken into consideration. But a few things have to emerge. You know, when you finish with something like this, you write it down. It's about the principle of duality. That's one thing. And it's about crisis in the phases of development of the human being. And it's about bringing signs of great duality together through the agency of Mercury. That's, you know, pretty much what we've been talking about. And if you admit it, your life right now is filled with duality. If you're a true disciple, you're fighting the battle between the dweller and the angel of the presence. No way to avoid that. And later, when higher initiations come, we'll be able to take those still higher dualities into consideration. But right now, and for the first 3 initiations, the duality of Scorpio is prominent in our lives. And also eventually, the light of day and intuition or higher light of Scorpio, in that light we shall see light, is prominent in our lives. We're in the midst of the battle involving dualities. Now, let's see what else here. It's a delight to consider these polarities, says Joe, through another perspective's view. Yeah. Well, thanks, Joe. I just do what I can, you know, and so often aware that I'm not quite there yet. But okay, I have faith that the illumination will come bit by bit, step by step. And Anna is saying it's like a wheel turning upon itself, 4-dimensional motion, which is really a sign of initiation of the chakra when that 4th dimensional motion is reached. 4th dimensional motion of rotation, cycles, and forward progression of the spirits. Yeah, well, you know, we enter into new forms of dimensionality as the chakras become fully unfolded and play their role in the particular triangle, which is of importance for us at a particular time. And then we move on to another triangle, which we have to develop for our next stage of work. Now, you know, I'm impressed from esoteric healing that until the triangle of the top of the head the Ajna center and the Alta Major center is really functioning. You cannot be a true esoteric healer, and you cannot take the third initiation. So, we might be involved with a triangle right now that involves Ajna, heart, and maybe solar plexus, as is suggested in meditation number 2 in Discipleship in the New Age, Volume 2. But we don't stay developing any triangle forever. We start moving into the head. And eventually, as you will find on page 170 of A Treatise on Cosmic Fire, those higher triangles take over. And when this is really going, then the radiation goes forth. We can heal through our presence. Interesting, many are the unconscious healers who have somehow developed this. And we can take the third initiation. All 3 parts are in place. And the higher initiations are also possible as we move into progressive triangles. Now, if we were to look at this, I'll show you what I mean, and you've seen it, and I've shown it. But we have man partially controlled by the ego, spiritual man to the third initiation, and, well, wait a second, maybe you're not seeing that. Now I'll put it on. Spiritual man to the third initiation, and spiritual man to the 5th initiation, and always progressive triangles are activated in order to make these unfoldments possible. So I have a suggestion, of course, and you know that it works, that study your etheric body carefully. And he gives us enough hints to study the etheric body carefully. And according to what you learn about the etheric body, you'll be able to learn more about the relationships within our planetary chain, within our planetary scheme, and within the solar system. So you can go from above to below, below to above, filling in the blanks, and according to what you know, and then using analogy, correspondence, which is our method of interpretation. Okay, Catherine, does Virgo, the 4th point, in relation to the triangle of Aries, Gemini, and Scorpio, play a part of the initiating point or the manifestation point, or both? Yeah, in a way, both. Certainly it all has to work out within the field of matter. We are immersed in the dense physical body of our solar logos and of our planetary logos. We are definitely immersed. And Virgo somehow represents that, the material aspect. But it also represents something much higher, which starts to deliver in this solar system the 2nd and the 6th ray. So in a way, Virgo above and Virgo below, only in different modes. A different mode below representing the old Virgo of materiality, through which the Christ has to emerge, and Virgo above as representing new energies connected with this solar system, which is a second ray major solar system. And let's see, Carrie, is there a relationship between, yes, the 7 head centers and or the great or little bears? In my view, the 7 head centers are ruled by Vulcan in one respect on the microcosmic level. So when the will of Vulcan begins to be powerful, these centers within the head begin to be activated and can act as control centers for the other chakras associated with them. Now, as to which is which and, how we work that out, the 7 above and the 7 below, that requires some speculation and some justification. But then, if we go really high, we find out that the 7 stars of the Great Bear are the 7 head centers correspondentially of the one about whom naught may be said, which is that super constellational logos. See, we have our solar systemic logos, then we have our super solar systemic logos that we call a cosmic logos, and then we have a super constellational logos. We call it the one about whom naught may be said. And indeed, there is a correspondence between the 7 head centers of that great being. And I suppose, I'm thinking interior to the head. There's a lot of unveiled or veiled occultism in that area, as DK told to someone who questioned him on it. There's a correspondence between those 7 head centers in the one about whom naught may be said and the 7 head centers which are Vulcanian and rule the microcosmic 7. And what's interesting, there is in the sign Cancer, there are extra zodiacal constellations associated with Cancer. Argo the ship, then the little bear, then the big bear. And the big bear is called the greater of the sheepfolds. We are the sheep, So that particular decanate, which is the 3rd decanate in the natural order, is associated with the Great Bear and with the planet Vulcan. So again, there's kind of a showing the connection there between these tiny microcosmic interior head centers and the huge interior head centers of the one about whom naught may be said. And then, of course, there's also a correspondence between Father Bear and the little bear, the sun, which is like trying to connect a head center with an Agnes center, with the little bear representing an Agnes center in a great logos, and of course the great bear representing the higher head centers. Maybe there's a third part to that. I don't know yet what it would be. But we've got a 14 there, definitely. 7 plus 7. And when you've got that 14, you're going to suspect somewhere another 7. And maybe it's connected with the Pleiades, making 21 and having to do with lower centers somehow. But I don't know the details on that. Okay. That's what I can say about it anyway. We all of us are functioning at our present level of ignorance, so, you know, we do what we can. Anything else, friends? Anything else? And if not, you know, just so you can get the idea of what is happening for you or to you, how it's working out for you. Because you are, in a sense, you are developing a new facility related to something Master DK accomplished long ago, but which we have not accomplished. We are planting the seeds of pure reason. We are planting the seeds of pure reason. That's what we're doing here. And whatever type of ray you're on, and I suppose a lot of us are on the second ray, it's going to help. There is one type of second ray that is subcolored by the third ray, which really works in this way. And there's also the pure wisdom of the Buddha and the pure love of the Christ. Those are different expressions of the second ray, but what we're doing here will also help there, even though your destiny may not be going into the kind of detail that Master DK goes into. It may or may not, I don't know. You will know. Still, if you are a pure love type or a austere wisdom type, like the Buddha, this kind of associative study will help. Okay. So, if there's nothing else right now, then let's go to the great invocation. Yeah, wonderful stuff from the old commentary. We'll go to the great invocation, and we'll finish our work this morning with that. And you know, even if you don't really know what you are gaining from thoughtful exposure to this process, you are still gaining. That's related to the idea that growth occurs, and we are often unconscious of the growth that is occurring, and yet it is occurring. So we will proceed with the conclusion of our work for this morning. Now, this evening, I think we have, it's Wednesday, so we probably have the normal triangles meditation, I'm not sure. Just go to the normal website, which is a YouTube website, at 6 p.m. GMT, and whatever we have, whether it's triangles or one of our new program presentations, Tuya will be leading it, and we can all benefit. Okay. From the point of light within the mind of God, let light stream forth into the minds of men. Let light descend on earth. From the point of love within the heart of God, let love stream forth into the hearts of men. May Christ return to earth. From the center where the will of God is known, let purpose guide the little wills of men, the purpose which the masters know and serve. From the center which we call the race of men, let the plan of love and light work out, and may it seal the door where evil dwells. Let light and love and power restore the plan on earth. I just want to look at one thing here, so we can all be on the same page. All I have to do is find it. Nope, that's not it. I'm going to do my best to just hang in here with me for a second. And let's see if I can locate it right away. Looks like I can. Okay. So here, just checking up on what we're doing, is the weekly schedule. And as you know, there was a change, which is why we're doing that now. And the triangles work will be tonight. Tomorrow morning at 6 a.m., we will have our Identify as Being series. And then, because the full moon is upon us, we're going to be having sacred pentagram work. And it's all listed here, the timing of it, and watch the different times. Followed by the pre-full moon on Friday and the actual Pisces full moon early in the morning, GMT. Sacred pentagram continues, and sacred pentagram continues on March 1st. And note here that the full links are spelled out in case you have trouble. Now, this morning, I had trouble with my rectangular link, but none of you did. So, okay, I was glad to know that. So thank you, everybody. Thank you. And many blessings, lots of love, and we'll continue to do our best to pour forth what we understand of the ageless wisdom, and maybe even a lot of things we don't understand completely, but which have hints that can take us toward fuller understanding. Okay. So this will be posted before long on Makara. And a lot of these programs are being posted now also on the YouTube. And that helps us, I think. And people who just come in and maybe wander in and find that the presentation is congenial for them. Okay. So bye for now, and we'll see you before long.